Hello everyone, I'm Suraj Darekar, and in today's video, we are going to learn about file pruning in Apache Iceberg. Now, if you have been working with Hive tables, you might have a general idea about how partitions help in file pruning. So in this video, we are going to understand what makes Apache Iceberg so much better at file pruning. So let's first understand what is file pruning. Now, whenever you are querying any data, you always want to avoid any unnecessary files to scan. For example, you have data from year 2020 till 2025 and you have partitioned your table on year. So when you pass the query something like this, start from table where year equals 2025, you want to read the data only for year 2025 and avoid scanning the data or the files associated from year 2020 till 2024. So that is what about file pruning. It's basically skipping files that don't have relevant data for your query. Now, we are going to pass certain practical queries and we are going to see how Iceberg scans only the necessary files. Now, you might say that file pruning happens for Hive tables as well. So, what's different with Apache Iceberg? The thing is, with partitions, each and every table will support the partition level file pruning. But Iceberg allows us to do file pruning even on non-partition column. You can pass filters on which the table is not even partitioned. For example, region in this case. Let's suppose the data was not partitioned on region. Still, Iceberg can help you in file pruning or while reading the data, it will only scan those files which are associated with region East. So now let's go to our Spark UI and let's see how Apache Icebergs achieve this. If you want to see the outputs for your validations, I have added all the required screenshots over here, so you can refer to this particular article on Medium. Okay, so moving on to Spark. First, let's create a Spark session. It might take some time. Okay, it's done. Let's create a table. Now we are creating a table, well, using Iceberg, and we are partitioning it based on date. So the date format looks something like this, right? So let's create it. So we have created our table default dot sales. If I go to my warehouse, you should see a directory for default because that was the naming that we have given for these three level namings. Then sales, and right now as we have created data and we don't have any data inserted in it, so we just have the metadata file and not the data directory yet. Let's insert it in the next cell. And remember, if you want to set this up on your own, or if you want to learn about Apache Iceberg in more detail about its technical architecture, schema evolution, what is hidden partitioning, and everything, I have a detailed course on this on Udemy. I'll attach the link in the description so you can refer that. Okay, so moving on, let's insert 5 records. Now, first see, now first analyze this that we have three different dates, right? 1st of Jan, 2nd of Jan, and 3rd of Jan. So we should get three partitions as we have partitioned it on date. So let's do that. Okay, so we have our data inserted. Now let's again go to our warehouse and you can see now we have the data directory with three partitions. Focus on this partition. This will be the partition where we are going to perform certain queries. Right now we have one Parquet file, and w- what we are going to do is basically, so when we now pass a select query like this, which is on date, oh sorry, this one, yeah. So when we pass a simple select query which is based on this date, as hive based tables also perform, it will only scan that particular partition, right? This one. Okay, in the next insert I'll again add two more records. Where is that? Yeah, for that same particular date, 02, that is 2nd of Jan, and we will add a unique region east that is not associated in this particular in these particular records. Or here you can see we don't have region for 2nd of Jan. Then when we pass this second query where we have added this additional filter, so we will see in this particular directory that we will have two Parquet files after the second insert, and it will only read one Parquet file which is associated with region east. So how does it know that which file was associated with region east? Okay, so for that we will have our debug mode on. As and when we query in our subsequent queries, we will turn this mode on to see this in more detail. Okay, so for now we have inserted 5 records, and we have our Parquet file, one Parquet file over here. Also, let's verify this with our files. You can see we have 3 records with 3 different partitions. That basically what we have in our warehouse data directory. Okay, now let's use explain. I just wanted to tell you that with explain we are not able to uh, understand which files are getting scanned. So to go on a deeper level, that's why we are going to use this debug mode. But for now, I'll run explain. Basically, this gives us the physical and the logical plan, a Spark feature. But we don't understand which file or which file path is getting scanned exactly. So now let's run this. You can right now we have 2 records, that is ID 3 and 4 with region north and west for date 2nd of Jan. Now let's turn our debug mode on. With this, you are going to see detailed file logs. Okay. Now let's run this same query, this select query again. You see, this is not an error. This is basically the detailed logs. So let's go. Where are the stats? Okay, so now we have the stats. Basically, this is the metadata. Iceberg has a rich metadata layer, and because of this metadata layer only, we are able to identify, or we are able to avoid scanning unnecessary files. So let's go to seek. Yeah, seek with new stream. This one. So here you can notice we only read one file, one Parquet file. That is 002. That's the file that is associated with the partition 2024 or 2nd Jan. Okay, so this is the normal thing even with Hive. This is uh, you can see this with Hive as well. Nothing different, right? Okay, so now let's add 2 more records. So we will have one more Parquet file for this particular partition. Okay, so now we have added our 2 records, that is two new records, ID 6 and 7. We have them over here for date 2nd of Jan, and this is the unique region that is associated with 2nd of Jan. Now let's refresh this. So in the directory for 2nd Jan, we have 2 Parquet files now. Now when we run this query where we add the extra filter of region, we don't want it to scan the older Parquet file. Why? Because each region is not associated with this. We only want this particular new file. So within one directory, we only want this one particular newly added Parquet file, which actually contains the region east. Now, before running this, I'll tell you this happens because Iceberg has a rich metadata layer. It has these manifest files where you store min and max stats. I'll show you how the min and max stats look. Basically, these are encoded in base 64. So we'll convert them, and you will notice how these min and max values are stored in those manifest files. Okay, so let's move on. Let's run this. Okay, we again have our stats. So you can notice that it's only scanning the file for 02 date, and that's this one. Notice the file path, it's 5 times 0 hyphen 13. So if I go over here, that's this file. So it avoids scanning this particular file because it knows that the east region is associated in this particular Parquet file, even though they are in the same directory. So these are the stats that I was talking about. Let's look for region. Okay, so we have our region over here, and these are the max and min values. So let's see what this value actually means. Base 64 decode. In the statistics, they are encoded into base 64 format. Okay, so let's decode it. You can see this one is south. Now you might wonder what is south. So we inserted two new records, right? ID 6 and 7. So the first one was south. So the Parquet file has two records. So one is south. So that's the value that it has taken as max value. And let's look at the min value. East, basically. So that's why, because of its metadata, it knows what's the what are the mean and max values, or what data is associated in these Parquet files, and that's how it avoids scanning unnecessary files. And because of that, your read performance increases on a greater scale. So your query are enhanced or optimized in a much better way. So yeah, that's it for this video. Let's turn off the debug mode. You just add this one, and now if I query it again, yeah, we get a simple output. So yeah, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. um, and let me know if you want to know anything else in detail. See you in the next video. Thanks. Bye bye.